Welcome to IITA webcast, helping you to prepare for your PMP CAPM exam. Your host is Dr. Tokes Onobanjo. The topic today is critical path analysis, the third part. There are 4 parts: part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. This is the third part. We encourage you to listen to all the 4 parts. View the webcasts, the 4 webcasts on critical path analysis to get a total picture of critical path analysis as a tool. IITA is located at 2470 Windy Hill Road, Suite 322A, Marietta, Georgia 30067. Telephone 404-207-3981. We're going to learn some definitions that are key. First one is activity duration. This determines how long an activity lasts. There are 2 formulas, both will give the same outcome. Duration is equal to early finish minus early start, or less early start plus 1, or duration is equal to late finish minus late start plus 1. Definition: number of days or months an activity lasts in completing. Free float: this determines how many days an activity can be delayed without delaying the early start of the next activity. Free float is equal to early start of the following activity less the early start of the present activity less the duration of the present activity. The number of days this activity can be delayed without delaying the early start of the next activity. Note, if the present activity has more than 1 following activities, then use the earliest of the early start of any of the following activities. Total float: this determines how many days one can delay an activity without delaying the project itself, the project completion time. Without delaying the project completion time. There are 2 formulas, both will give the same output. Total float is latest start minus early start, or total float is late finish minus early finish. This is the total float is the number of days an activity can be delayed without delaying the entire project completion time. Project float: this is the externally given completion time or date less the project completion time or date. It can be negative, and this requires you to compress the project by crashing or by fast tracking the activities on the critical path. Suppose your planned scheduled completion is on the 15th of June and the customer has requested for 15 July for completion of the deliverables. You have a month more time, which is the project float. The formula is externally given completion time less the project completion time. So the definition, the project float is the difference between the time given to complete a project and the length of the critical part of the project. Let's define more terms. The early finish: it determines when activity will finish at the earliest. and the formula is EF early finish is equal to ES early start plus duration minus 1. It's also used for forward pass when you're doing your critical path analysis using the node method. The definition of the earliest finish is the day on which an activity can finish earliest. Early start, ES. It determines when an activity can start at the earliest, and the formula is ES equal to early start is equal to early finish of processor plus 1. The day on which an activity can start the earliest. Late finish determines when an activity should finish at the latest. LF is equal to late finish is equal to late start of successor minus 1. The day on which an activity can finish latest. And finally we have late finish or late start, sorry. It determines when an activity should start at the latest, and late start is equal to the late finish minus duration plus 1. Is used also in backward pass when you are determining your critical path analysis. And the late start is the day on which an activity can finish latest. Now let's see the calculations of total float. We're going to look at the backward pass that we used before, and we said total float, which is the formula right here, is LS minus ES, which is late start minus early start, or late finish minus early finish. Let's look at the earliest late start. The late start here is 1, which is this one. Late start here is 1. And then early start here is 1 too. Early start, so that means 1 minus 1 is 0. Then if you use the second formula, LF late finish, the late finish here is 3. So what is the then you also have the LA finish, which is this one, LA finish. The LA finish here is also 3. So if you say 3 minus 3, that is 0. So this is 0. Activity on the critical path has 0 total float. So you can see the total float here is 0 too. 4 minus 4 is 0. 9 minus 9 is 0. The tax here, the tax 5 here also has 0 as total float. TF means total float. So all the activities on the critical path have total float of 0. The activities not on the critical path have float. Look, this is 10. 14 minus 4 is 10, or 15 minus 5 is 10, and this also 16 minus 6 is 10. 17 minus 7 is 10. So these are not on the critical path. They have floats of 10. These are floats of 2. 6 minus 4 or 9 minus 2. They have float of 2. This also have floats of 2. 10 minus 8 or 12 minus 10, 2. So we have done the total float. There are only tax 2 that is not on the total float as a total float of 2. Tax 3 has a total float of 2 also, and tax 6 and tax 8 both have total float of 10. And we say total float is the number of days an activity can be delayed without delaying the project. Now let's look at the free float. Free float means is equal to free float, the earliest of the following activities less the earliest time of the present activity less the duration. So in this case, let's look at this free float. It's always between 2 boxes. So the earliest of this is 4. This is the first one. The following activity is 4 here, and the previous one here is 1. So 4 minus 1 less the duration, which is 3 here. So 4 minus 1 minus 3 is 0. So the free flow between these 2 boxes is 0. The free flow between these 2 boxes, this is 8 here, earliest of the following activity, which is this one, and the present activity the earliest time of the present activity is 4 and the duration is 4. So 8 minus 4 is also 0. So the only few ones that give here, let's look at between here and here. Earliest here is 13. 13 minus 8 is 5. The earliest of this one is 8 minus 3. So that means 11 minus 13, and that is 2. So the free float here is 2. You can calculate the free float for all of them between these two also. We say the earliest here, which is this one, the earliest of the following activity, which is 6, and the previous one or this other one is 4. So which is this one, the present one. 6 minus 4 is 2. Then the duration, which is this, is 2. So we also have 0. So we have so many. We have calculated all of them. The only ones that give a free float is tax 3 and 7, and tax 8 and 9. Tax 3, the tax 7 earliest time, the earliest time of the activity is 13, and tax 3 earliest time is 8, and the duration of tax 3 is 3. So you have 2. Same thing here. Tax 8, tax 9 has an earliest time of 18, tax 8 has an earliest time of 6. So then the duration in tax is 2. So we have 18 minus 6 minus 2, 10. So the free float is the number of days this activity can be delayed without delaying the early start of the next activity. Note, if the present activity has more than one following activity, then use the earliest of the earliest start of any of the following activities. Now let's look at the Gantt chart. The Gantt chart here, we have 7 tasks. 1, 2 to 7 to complete the project. Talks is the resource for this is for 2 days, but the task 2 depend on the finishing of task. Task 2 depend on the finishing of task 1, while task 3 does not depend in does not depend on anything. But task 7 depend on task 3 and to run for 7 days. Task 4 will depend on task 3 ending before it starts for 2 days, and task 6 will depend on task 1 before it runs for 4 days, and task 7 depends on the completion of task 5 before it runs for 1 day. So if you do them, you get this, the critical part. The one with the red line, the critical part, and that is from 1 to 7. So that's 8 plus 1, 9. So the critical part here is 9. So you can also plot out your critical part using Gantt chart. We can see also at www.iit.com we have both on-site and off-site courses. We also have weekend courses and weekday courses for PMP and CAPM. Remember, there are 4 webcasts on this, part 1 to 4. This is part 3. Remember to check the last one, which is part 4. Thank you, and you have a great day. Bye bye.